Part 54. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gumyu Shuang. Chapter 531. Bullet comments. So cool. This shooting posture is so cool, he is definitely a professional, just like academician Ying. I am so confused, I don't know what they are talking about. If I were in, I would definitely shoot blindly. Actually, what they said is right, most of the players are ordinary people, they are definitely not as good as professionals, their judgment and thinking ability cannot be thought in the comprehensive logical way of academician Ying, just focus directly, too much judgment will interfere with action. To put it bluntly, it's just a big guy bullying the weak. Oh, it's really boring. But this man is damn charming. The audience's hunch is also correct, this is indeed a bully. Si Lu brought Ying Wan, the two of them have good judgment and reaction, and they killed several people when they met head-on. In the elite competition, everyone is relatively good at hiding, and the elimination rate is particularly low in the first 10 minutes. Later, the playground will deliberately give prompts, such as disclosing the position of a certain player, so that everyone can get close to him. Those who are exposed can only be considered unlucky. Either kill others or wait to be eliminated. With Si Lu by her side, Ying Wan felt like Lin Mei just now, she was lying down for the whole game. The so-called elite competition turned into Si Lu's personal show in the end. He actually set a record for the elite competition and eliminated 11 people. One more than the ordinary competition. When the last person was eliminated, Si Lu asked her, "Did you have fun?" Ying Wan said, "Not bad." She didn't need Si Lu to give her the opponent or the kill. The feeling of lying down and winning the whole game was quite good. The staff asked them to give a name and put it on the record list. Si Lu thought about it and gave them the two letters YS. It was the pinyin of the first letters of their names, simple and simple. Barrage. I thought a wonderful duel was coming, but it turned out that the big guy bullied the weak. It's too real, right? This man's shooting posture is so handsome, and his strength is also very strong. Where did this fairy treasure come from? Sure enough, the one who plays with the boss is the boss. The camera is back to Lin Mei again, the boss disappeared. This is too much for our Mei Mei, the show is originally about our Mei Mei. The camera is now back to Lin Mei, she also learned the results there, and was a little surprised to see Ying Wan and Si Lu really took the first place, and the final free play card reward was also given to Lin Mei. Lin Mei felt a little embarrassed at first, but thinking that these two people really didn't have much time to play, she accepted it calmly. She planned to come here often to play, at least to practice a good shooting skill, otherwise the whole network would call her lying Win Mei. From life to any aspect, she is the one who was won by lying. This is, too cool. Several people participated in the final competition in the amusement park and delayed for a while, and it was almost time to go off the air, and they didn't have time to eat dinner. It was just right that Si Lu didn't need to continue to show up in the live broadcast room. In the evening, Lin Mei very tactfully resigned, leaving them alone. The two of them didn't choose a restaurant specifically that night, they just picked a high-altitude restaurant that was hard to book, so they could enjoy the night view and chat for a while. Si Lu changed into a casual white shirt and sat opposite Ying Wan. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gumyu Shuang. Chapter 532. When he sat down, he first looked at Ying Wan carefully several times. When he saw Ying Wan, he raised his eyes and asked him, "What's on my face?" "No." The corners of his lips curled up slightly. "Do you know what state you were in when you were playing games today?" Ying Wan frowned slightly. "What's the state? Is there something wrong with her state?" "Lively, more outgoing than usual, very relaxed." Ying Wan was a little amused, and then looked at him. "Isn't this what I usually do? You always hold it in a slightly tight state." He supported his face, turned his head slightly and stared at Ying Wan. A faint light flashed in his black eyes, although I don't want to admit it, but since I met your sister, I think you are much cuter than before. This Yingwan is more lively and lively, with a touch more human touch than the previous Yingwan who was the flower of the mountain. There were still some subtle changes between relatives. Yingwan kept her true feelings, but she also gained a bit of empathy that she didn't have before. For example, she would joke with Lin Mei and try to participate in various activities. He couldn't tell which one was better, but in his eyes, he felt that all of them were good in Yingwan. Actually, if it was. She thought for a moment, if I borrowed money to terminate Lin Mei's contract, maybe these things wouldn't happen. Of course, at that time, Lin Mei would probably suspect that she had engaged in some illegal activities to earn so much money. It's just that their relationship wasn't close enough at that time, and Yingwan obviously wouldn't say anything to Lin Mei. Si Lu laughed. I think there is a high probability that you would not borrow it at that time. Yingwan. That is indeed the case. At this moment, her cell phone rang. When she answered the call, she found out that it was the president of Qingbei University. The other party said very politely on the phone that the group behind He Tianqing had been arrested and they were basically determined to be dealt with seriously. There were also some people suspected of buying and selling academic materials and they would take action accordingly. Punishment. Of course, when Principal Qingbei told Yingwan about this, he was still telling her that things were going on smoothly and Yingwan must not be dissatisfied. Who made He Tianqing's unlucky person hit Yingwan's gun this time? Yingwan briefly chatted with the principal of Qingbei without saying much. He originally gave the information to Qingbei so that they could handle it on their own. Otherwise, if things got serious, even foreign academics would get involved and criticize China. This is not a good thing. After hanging up the phone, Si Lu heard what he just said. He hadn't mentioned this to him before, so Si Lu was suddenly confused. What happened in Qingbei? Yingwan thought for a moment and told Si Lu about the incident online. After hearing the whole story, Si Lu's face suddenly darkened. Why didn't you tell me first? This kind of rotten person dares to plagiarize Yingwan's theories and should be severely beaten by society. You don't need to be involved in such a simple matter. Besides, this is something Luo Junling and I discussed online, and it doesn't mean much. The most important thing is to find out the organization behind them. By the way, regarding AI, there is some progress now. When the program is officially completed next month, I will start experimenting. At least before the Chinese New Year, I won't have much time to go out. Si Lu. He thought for a moment, and at least he still had a month of free time. Just thinking about it again, I don't seem to have much time. He finally realized for himself that his father was indeed right in some respects. It may be difficult for two people to meet each other sometimes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 533. After meeting, Yingwan and Si Lu went back to their own homes as usual. In the evening, there was an uproar on the internet because Si Lu appeared in the live broadcast room, but no one has been able to dig out the man's real information. Some people did reveal a little about Si Lu's identity, and the strange thing is that no one deleted it, which made people even more unbelievable. If they guessed it right, they would definitely delete the information. If they don't delete it now, doesn't it prove that they are just guessing? Of course, everyone is not blind. Just looking at the identity and momentum, this is definitely something that can only be raised by a wealthy family. Some people are born noble, and you can tell the difference at a glance. At present, there are also many sour people on the internet. Alas, this world is so unfair. People who are prettier than you are also richer, more handsome, and have better bodies than you. To be honest, this is too dreamy. He has a strong aura, is tall and has long legs. He must be from a noble family, and he is damn handsome. Some people are born to be the masters of this world. They are blessed by God and have all the advantages, such as Yingwan, and Yingwan, the boyfriend. 99% of the population on Earth are here to make up the numbers. Unfortunately, I am one of those people who make up the numbers. We live just to live, sob sob. Eating lemons is fine. I also hate the rich. Unfortunately, I can't hate them when I see these two people. This incident also caused a certain shock in the entertainment industry. Everyone knows that Yingwan is now the chairman of Wanteng Group. Even his future partner is so outstanding that people look up to him. Sure enough, everyone had thought about who would be worthy of someone like Yingwan in advance, but they didn't expect that he would appear now. It was a bit beyond their imagination, but they felt that Yingwan should find such a boyfriend. It was a subtle sense of rightness. Sci-fi did not appear in the live broadcast room for the next few days, which made many viewers who were purely looking at the face feel a little regretful. After all, when someone like Sci-fi appeared in the live broadcast room, everyone was in a good mood. And apart from the identities of Yingwan and Lin Mei, their live broadcasts were really boring. Yingwan could stay in front of the computer all day to do her own things, but what about Lin Mei? Lin Mei had nothing to do but to play the cello to destroy people's ears, or watch some performance videos. Of course, some people said that she was putting on a show. After all, with Yingwan in her now, did she still need to work hard on acting? But at least she was willing to put on a show. However, even in such a boring situation, everyone was reluctant to leave the live broadcast room in order to get close to the life of the genius and rich. The live broadcast time for the next week passed peacefully. After the live broadcast ended, the ratings still reached a peak, and Yingwan could finally do her own things. Also within this week of live broadcast, the matter of Peking University and Tsinghua University was completely handled. Although we tried to compress the information, the fact that so many college students and professors got into trouble at the same time still made people smell a different kind of storm. Some people exposed the incident online, but because the authorities deliberately suppressed it, they only said that these people were cheating on academic issues. They admitted to cheating frankly. After all, they have been dealt with now. Those who deserve heavy punishment will be punished severely. The official attitude is sufficient, so netizens don't care much. Because the big VS were silenced, only gossip came out. Not many people provided accurate information, and everyone had no channels to eat melons. Those who didn't understand it naturally had no interest in paying attention. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 534. After the live broadcast ended, Yingwan returned to the countryside this month. After all, she still had to live in Huayang village for a while. The Wanlangxiang was growing very well. Now it had the shape of a big tree, with many branches and some small buds emerging. After all, it was a newly planted flower, and it would take some time for it to grow into a lush Wanlangxiang. After the renovation, the environment in the mountains became more and more beautiful with birds singing and flowers blooming. In the distance, the project of the Si family and the state was under construction. Because of Yingwan, this piece of land in Huayang village was indeed promoted. When this project land is developed, it will be completely changed. Maybe in a few years or more than 10 years, it will be upgraded to a small town with a strong modern atmosphere. It's just a village, but as long as there is a dream, anything can happen. The people in the village did not change their attitude towards Yingwan because of her public identity. After all, it was a too distant identity. In the eyes of the villagers, she was still the girl who had left the village and was lonely. Now she came back and just inherited her grandfather's territory. The village chief sometimes sighed, if Yinghe was still alive at this time, how happy would he be to see all this. As autumn turned to winter, everything gradually withered, and the temperature dropped more and more recently, and the anniversary of Grandpa Yingwan's death had arrived. He was not buried in any cemetery, his grave was in the field behind the village. This was his last wish. Grandpa passed away on such a cold day. It is said that when his body temperature completely cooled down that day, it was discovered by the nurse. His eyes were completely closed, but there was a peaceful look on his old cheeks. Just 3 hours before he died, he had a phone call with Yingwan. At that time, Yingwan also said that his experiment had produced perfect results, and he only needed to wait for the final finishing to create the world-leading Nuwa chip. She thought that at that time, Grandpa should be relieved in his heart. The girl he picked up became a pillar of talent leading the advancement of international science and technology, which was of great significance. He had no regrets in his life. The nurse who took care of him said that he was holding a photo of Yingwan in his hand at that time. When she was first picked up, her grandfather, who was living in poverty, took a family photo with her in his arms in order to leave an impression of Yingwan's childhood. It was called a family photo, but there were only the two of them in the photo. She was wearing thick clothes, just like the big red cotton jacket that every child would wear when they were young, but it couldn't hide her big and delicate eyes. She looked at the camera curiously, and her grandfather had a serious face. The photo has turned yellow. Yingwan didn't see the situation at that time. She seemed a little anxious that day, but she didn't know why. Until she received the news of her grandfather's death. She didn't see her grandfather for the last time, but only heard the description of the nurse, but the scene at that time appeared clearly in her mind. Grandpa probably died contentedly. Everyone has the experience of birth, aging, illness and death. He lived a natural death, and she should be happy. She didn't see her grandfather for the last time. In the following years, because of scientific research, she even went to the anniversary of his death every year intermittently. Only this year, she will not be so hurried, and can stand quietly in front of this tombstone and talk to her grandfather for a while. It was windy today. She was wearing a knitted jacket and just standing there. Her expression looked even colder. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 535. The village chief stood not far away, smoking his pipe. He knew that today was Yinghe's death anniversary, and Yingwan was in the village, so she would definitely go to pay tribute. But she had been standing there for several hours since morning, and she was still watching, which made the village chief a little worried. Suhan and others were also watching in the distance, which did not make people too uneasy, but it was still a little uncomfortable and complicated to see Miss Ying like this. They had not been with Yingwan for a long time, but they also knew that apart from this grandfather, Miss Ying had no relatives before. She had been in a special place since she was a child, and the only thing that accompanied her was endless study. The most relaxing time was when she talked to her grandfather. In the end, she was too busy and almost had no time to go home. Grandpa always advised her, put your study first and the national mission first. Let Yingwan not come back to see him. He used to be a soldier, and he especially obeyed the orders from above. He knew that the country had special expectations for Yingwan. He was an old man who was alone, and it was just a matter of whether he could see his granddaughter or not. He could also video chat with Yingwan at ordinary times. But what exactly is in her mind, only the old man knows. He has never regretted letting people discover Yingwan's talent. He knows that this little girl can't spend her whole life in this small mountain village. She can change the world, let her change the world. Xian Lanyi once said that although Yingwan's grandfather was just an ordinary veteran, he had the best ideas. She has been alone for so many years, and she didn't even see her grandfather for the last time. I heard that the old man was holding her childhood photo when he died. I'm afraid only the person involved knows how uncomfortable it is. Even though Miss Ying has a cold temperament, she has all the 7 emotions and 6 desires that people should have. Isn't she sad? She just won't show it too obviously, and she won't say it out. Because who can understand her boredom? Standing too high, you see differently, and people below see you differently. It's difficult for them to put this kind of empathy on Yingwan. Go. A special forces member saw a figure coming and said angrily, "You are really good at adjusting time." Suhan smoked a cigarette and said lightly, "It's better to say that it's intentional, at least you remember even such things." Yingwan has been standing in front of the tombstone for a long time. The wind is so strong today that the village chief is afraid that she will catch a cold. A figure suddenly came over. The village chief saw him and felt that he was familiar. Isn't this the young man who lives in the villa in the village? Oh, it is said that he is Wan Wan's boyfriend. Thanks to the blessing of a college student in Tuo village, they still know some gossip. Si Lu walked straight towards Yingwan and gently put his coat on Yingwan. Feeling this action, Yingwan turned her head slightly. The moment Si Lu saw her expression, he was suddenly startled. Although her eyes were still indifferent, there was a tear mark on her face. It had been a while, so the mark could be seen. But at least it can be known. She shed tears. I can't describe the feeling at that moment, it was like a needle piercing my heart, it hurt so much, he said in a low voice, with a soothing and gentle taste, "Don't be sad." Yingwan did not hide her loss of composure, she obviously looked unhappy today, she only whispered, "Didn't you say you were busy, why are you here?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 536. It's my grandfather's death anniversary. I should come and see him. Today is the first year of our relationship. I have to let him know. He walked over, and there were incense and paper money bought by others next to him. He has a serious obsession with cleanliness, but now he kneeled down directly, kneeling on the ground, and burned paper money for Yingwan's grandfather according to rural customs. Yingwan blinked her eyes. She had been standing all morning, and her legs seemed to be numb. Seeing Si Lu's movement, she paused for a moment and knelt down quietly with him. Si Lu did not say anything to stop him. She stayed quietly by the side, because she had burned incense in the morning, so she did not burn again. But kneeling here now, Si Lu could still see some fragility hidden in her expression. She seemed not to have such emotions, but how could a person not have a heart? She could always think of the phone call between her grandfather and herself when he died. He was so happy and proud, knowing that he could change the world. So what was he thinking when he died 3 hours later? Did he also miss Yingwan, who was thousands of miles away? Yingwan only has her grandfather as a relative, and so does her grandfather. She is the only relative. When he was young, he cut off ties with his family and lived alone all his life. He only raised Yingwan in his later years. He didn't enjoy the family affection for long. Yingwan was away from home all year round. He has been so lonely all his life. "Grandpa, I am Wan Wan's boyfriend. This is my first time to see you. Please forgive me." Si Lu's voice sounded very low and respectful. In fact, he knew about Yingwan's grandfather a long time ago, but he had nothing to do with Yingwan later. He had no relationship and no position to worship the old man. Now he has a fair opportunity. Grandpa has been alone all his life, so he doesn't want me to be alone too. Yingwan suddenly spoke, his voice was flat, but with a hint of nostalgia, so he always wanted me to find my family and didn't want me to be alone in this world. He was also afraid that I would only do scientific research in this life, would not get married, and would have no family, like him. He didn't want to get married, but he didn't want Yingwan to fall into such a dilemma. Everyone has their own choices. From the bottom of his heart, he hopes that Yingwan can really find her family. He just doesn't know how excellent Yingwan's biological parents are. He may just hope that there is a family who truly treats Yingwan. Sci-Lu freed one hand and held her wrist. Looking at the photo on the tombstone, the old and kind face with a gentle smile, he solemnly said, "Grandpa, don't worry, she will definitely have me by her side in this life." Too many solemn promises, in fact, are not as good as a sentence of always being with her. If you don't really like it, who can stay with one person for a lifetime? If Yingwan's grandfather is in the underworld, he thinks, he will be relieved. Yingwan smiled and she whispered, "Yes, Grandpa, you don't have to worry about me. The wind is very strong today, but it is strangely gentle when it blows past the edge of this grave. It's like brushing past the photo of the old man on the tombstone, and the originally smiling face has become more kind." The village chief and others in the distance watched this scene, exhaled a puff of smoke, and sighed softly, "Now that you are down there, can you rest assured? It's almost over." Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 537. After meeting Grandpa, the relationship between Yingwan and Sci-Lu has changed substantially. It seems to have reached a delicate balance. However, there is indeed a realistic problem in front of the two people: they are too busy. Yingwan is busy dealing with AI progress, and Sci-Lu is busy with SI family affairs. The two still have little time to meet, and Yingwan also said that this is his last month of free time. Sci-Lu can't do anything about this situation, at least it's better than not meeting. The variety show Family Time has gone through twists and turns and finally came to the last episode. Probably because there were too many things before, in the last episode, Yingwan still took Lin Mei to travel abroad. Of course, they went to some relatively secret places, but the scenery was really beautiful. To be honest, Yingwan has never been there. She has been trapped in her own laboratory and the ocean of knowledge for so many years, and she rarely has the leisure to see these things. Now, seeing the colorful scenery in this world, she is satisfied in her heart and has a clearer understanding of her future direction. The world is always changing, and she wants to lead this world forward. Because she has the ability, why not? Family Time ended in such a peaceful atmosphere. Although there was no quarrel or explosion, the family life of several stars was quite real. In particular, the appearance of Yingwan made this program completely ascend to the altar and became the ancestor of countless live broadcast programs in the future. It was hung on the altar, and many deeds in it were talked about with relish. For example, Yingwan, who suddenly appeared. People in the past never thought that there were such smart people in this world. If it weren't for this program, maybe she wouldn't show her true identity. Maybe she would be publicized many years later. Maybe she would be like many great scientific researchers, hiding her name for a lifetime, until she officially retired in her later years and quit this field, and then all her great achievements would be made public. This is a pioneer in human history. She is a miraculous existence. So much so that later, although there was no news about her, the program team's materials about her were studied by countless people. After the program ended, Yingwan officially began to set up a research room and began to study the topic of AI. This is a long-term war. Even if she is a super genius, some things still take a long time to make progress. For example, some technologies that only exist in science fiction movies may be possible based on reality, but they must have a cornerstone for transformation. And this cornerstone may not appear for several years or even decades. She is a leader. Many large domestic companies have great expectations when they know that Yingwan has started to switch to AI. If it is someone else, they are not sure. If it is Yingwan, they think there is still some hope in this life. Because of this, many foreign groups still gave generous investments after knowing the news. Even if Yingwan is not short of money, this technology belongs to all mankind. Yingwan will not refuse. There are also many well-known scientists who are willing to move to her side and study this project with her. Luo Junling will enter her laboratory for internship in advance. As a person who can make Yinghuan look at him with admiration online, he did not disappoint Yinghuan. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 538. Time passed gradually, and the previously popular program began to lose its heat. Countless live broadcast programs came into being, and more stars were willing to show their truest side under the live camera, but no program could create the peak of the Family Time program group. Maybe there was no super talent sitting in the seat. Lin Mei was not like other stars who took on some resources crazily after becoming famous, but she was not so careful about her feathers. She knew her identity and said that her acting skills were far from perfect. What she needed was more roles to hone. As long as the script had a certain level of excellence and could guarantee basic quality, she would not mind joining the group to perform. But it was precisely because of her identity that she didn't care much about the division of the first and second female roles, and walked steadily in the entertainment industry. Although Yinghuan no longer appeared on the internet, her influence was always there. As long as it comes to geniuses, there is no one now. No one can surpass Yinghuan's achievements, at least in this era. At present, no one. Many people on the internet still want to visit Huayang village, but it's a pity that Yinghuan is still there and is not allowed to enter. In the blink of an eye, the Chinese New Year is coming soon. After the program ended, there was no time for 2 months. Now it is getting colder and colder in winter, which is almost bone-chilling. Yinghuan must move to another research room after the Chinese New Year. In the countryside, many data cannot be completely transferred. After all, this place is to be developed, and Yinghuan has no intention of building it into a special research base. It is not suitable. Before the Chinese New Year, she came out of the laboratory. It was New Year's Eve in the village. The houses were about to be demolished. After the Chinese New Year, every household in the village had to move out and move into new houses. Everyone knew that it was Yinghuan who brought it, and they were especially grateful to Yinghuan. On the morning of New Year's Eve, Yinghuan wore a pure black down jacket with a large brim, but the down was slim and did not look bloated. She walked out of the room. It had snowed outside, and the snow was white. Her fingertips were trembling with cold. She rubbed her palms and subconsciously blew a breath into her palms to warm them. Sister Wan Wan. Xiao Li came over from the bottom of the village with a smile, carrying a basket. The basket was still steaming. The meat buns made by Mom are fresh out of the oven and hot. Eat them quickly. It will warm you up. Xiao Li is now wearing new clothes. The red flannel is decorated with a white fur collar, which makes her look pure and cute. Now she has lived here for a few months. She has already changed her name to call the widow Mom. Now she looks like a lively and lovely little girl. She studies hard, is very obedient and well behaved, and is loved by people in the village. Although she doesn't see Yinghuan often, she likes Yinghuan very much. Today is New Year's Eve. Early in the morning, her mother made meat buns and she hurriedly sent them to Yinghuan. Thank you. Seeing this little girl now, Yinghuan still had a faint smile on her face. She took the meat buns in the basket and whispered, "Happy New Year." Happy New Year's Eve. Xiao Li smiled sweetly, glanced behind her, and said, "Didn't brother Si Lu come to see you?" Si Lu has been around the village many times, and now everyone knows who he is. Yinghuan shook her head slightly. Brother Si Lu has to be busy. Xiao Li blinked. Sister Wan Wan, will you come to my house tonight to celebrate New Year's Eve with me? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 539. The New Year celebration must be lively with more people. Yingwan smiled and said, "No, I have something else to do." No matter where she went, it would be better to live alone at her grandfather's house. Besides, she was not very used to such a warm atmosphere. Oh well. Xiaoli knew Yingwan's character and didn't say much. She just said, "Sister Yingwan, eat slowly. I'll leave first. You can come down later and set off fireworks with us. There are no rules against setting off fireworks and firecrackers in rural areas, and children can also play with some simple ones." Yingwan just smiled and said okay. When Xiaoli turned around and was about to leave, Yingwan suddenly said, "Wait a minute." Xiaoli turned back and looked at her doubtfully. She walked into the room and turned around and took out a red envelope. "It's a red envelope. She prepared it for the children in the village. For you." Xiaoli looked at the red envelope and was a little dazed. Her face turned red for a while. "Sister Yingwan, I can't take your red envelope." "It's okay, I prepared it for you. After all, I'm in the village, so just treat it as if I gave it to you for my grandfather." When Xiaoli heard the word grandpa, she thought of the old grandfather she had never heard of. It seemed that she was able to come here because of Yingwan's grandfather. Thinking of this, Xiaoli reached out and took it. He said softly, "Thank you, Sister Yingwan." She curled her lips and said again, "Happy New Year's Eve." Xiaoli took the red envelope and left happily. As soon as she went out, a familiar tall figure appeared outside the fence. The person looked at Yingwan, with a devilish smile on his lips, and his deep eyes seemed to be filled with starlight. He said, "Happy New Year." Yingwan raised his eyebrows. "Aren't you celebrating the New Year in the imperial capital?" She and Silu haven't seen each other for a week, but she did say that she would leave the laboratory today. "Let you spend the New Year alone in the countryside on such an important day." Silu walked in with a chuckle. "You don't have to go back to the imperial capital to celebrate the New Year, so I will definitely come over to accompany you." Although she didn't know what to say, Yingwan felt a little happy when she heard that Silu came to celebrate the New Year with her. She asked Silu to sit down first, holding the meat bun Xiaoli gave her just now to eat. Silu looked at it and asked curiously, "Did you make it?" "Just one. Someone else made it, so I took one. I didn't know you were coming." After a pause, she broke open the meat buns, and the hot breath went straight up to the parted face. It was obvious at a glance that it was very fragrant. She stretched out her hand and handed it to Silu. When Silu saw the half that Yingwan handed over, he took it without hesitation. Silu glanced left and right again and suddenly asked, "Although I don't really want anyone to interrupt our New Year celebration, your sister never said she would come to celebrate the New Year with you." Yingwan asked for help. Then he said, "I have been busy with laboratory work recently and have not contacted her. She is also filming recently, so she is probably very busy." Silu suddenly let out a low sneer. But maybe some people just couldn't tell. From a distance, a car drove in at the foot of the mountain and parked directly outside Yingwan's hillside. Lin Mei got out of the car carrying large and small bags and saw Yingwan standing in the yard. Waving happily, Wan Wan, I'm here to celebrate the New Year with you." Silu. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have said anything. Wouldn't it be nice for him to spend the New Year with Yingwan himself? Now that's good, there's a big 3 kilowatt light bulb, the kind that can't be avoided. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 540. Lin Mei came in carrying things, and there were a few people behind her helping her push things. It looked like she bought a lot. As soon as she entered the yard, she found Silu there, and she waved happily, "Happy New Year, Wan Wan and Silu." Silu's mouth twitched slightly, and he said reluctantly, "Happy New Year." Yingwan said, "What did you buy, so many things?" Lin Mei, Oh, they are all New Year's things, and there are gifts from people in the village. I bought too much by accident. She smiled and pushed all the things in, and soon filled the whole yard. So the three of them spent an afternoon dividing things in the yard. Lin Mei also asked Suhan and others to help. After cleaning up, Yingwan started to prepare the New Year's Eve dinner. After all, her good cooking skills can't be wasted. While cooking, Si Lu came in to help, and Lin Mei was busy there, and occasionally she could say a few words to Suhan. Yingwan took a few glances and unexpectedly found that this special operations captain, who was always cold and aloof, was more patient with Lin Mei. However, if you look closely, there is still some impatience between his eyebrows, but this impatience is based on the fact that Lin Mei is indeed talkative. Yingwan is not the kind of person who likes to talk a lot, Lin Mei muttered and went to harass Suhan. While cooking, Si Lu asked her, "How is your experiment going?" "It's very difficult." Her face was still a little serious. Basically it takes a long time to find a breakthrough point. Some things are equivalent to science fiction now, and it is too difficult to find that breakthrough point. Just like when humans didn't have light bulbs before, they couldn't imagine how something could be automatically illuminated. The difficulty lies in how to get through this point. Si Lu sighed slightly. After the new year, you will officially start to be busy. You will stay in the laboratory all day, and we will have no chance to meet. Aren't you busy too? Things pass quickly when you are busy. I will come to see you when I am free. The two of them cooked and chatted occasionally. Hearing this, Si Lu's expression seemed a little depressed, and he didn't know what to say. There are many things to prepare for the New Year's Eve dinner, and Yingwan was busy all afternoon. Because she also prepared meals for Suhan and others. They couldn't go back for the New Year, Yingwan had to take care of them anyway, so they didn't have to sit together, but she must have prepared a table for them. Later, even Lin Mei and Suhan came to help because they really couldn't spare their hands. The people in the village kept sending delicious food to Yingwan, which were all special signature dishes made by the village's own families for the new year, and they tasted pretty good. The villagers here are simple and kind, and they are very grateful to Yingwan. The village chief also came to see Yingwan. Seeing that there were many people in Yingwan's yard, he smiled with relief and went home. Until the evening, the village was brightly lit, illuminating the whole way. Yingwan and Lin Mei moved all the dishes to the yard, and Dahe, who had been tormented by Yingwan recently, returned to work and helped serve the dishes. Ziahe shuttled among the crowd. Compared with a few months ago, his body had changed a lot. Now he looked a bit like a wolf dog, with a slender face and a bit fierce. He looked very intimidating, but lacked the cuteness of his childhood. Yingwan felt a little regretful.